Been a side chick. I've been a main chick. You know, the main chick that stayed after she got cheated on because he's gonna change, even though the only reason he's sorry is because I caught him. And seeing all these different perspectives in these roles, I've come to understand that, you know, as much as you would like to be a victim, you're a volunteer at this point. You know what it is. You've actually always known what it is. You've just denied your intuition.
Hey, so I'm a little tired. I was out pretty late last night on a boat partying. I don't drink, so I remember every detail. I had some great conversations with some great people. I got to hang out with friends I haven't seen in a while. It was pretty amazing. And we started talking about dating, and so I thought I'd jump in with one of my dating stories. So my dad decided that after I had been divorced for like 5 or 6 years and not really having so much luck in the dating scene, meeting people organically, that I should go online. He's like, all my friends meet everybody online.
So today at therapy, I was telling my therapist traditionally the type of guys that I am interested in. And I told her extremely intelligent, very charming, but also like kind of mysterious and dark and complicated. And she said, you know who else shares those characteristics is psychopaths.
So my boyfriend's vibe has been super off for the past day and a half, and he just sent me a text saying, come over and let's have a chat. Am I about to get broken up with? Stay tuned. Update. We broke up, and he referenced Andrew Tate.
Gotcha, bitch.
Being strong and independent is fun. Until you realize you're almost 30, alone, and not married.
And we find a date that works. Text me this morning, good for tonight, yep, see you at 6:30. And then at 5 o'clock, I get this text message. You're gonna cancel? Because I have a kid? Which is clearly stated in my profile that I have a 15-year-old son who lives with me full time, goes to his dad's every other weekend. So I'm just really confused. Why the fuck did you swipe right on my profile knowing I have a kid?
I know I need to do this video. I don't want to. Forgiveness has been a really big theme in my life. I'm gonna get through this video, but I never understood when people said you forgive for you. There are a lot of people that I never even began to remotely forgive in my heart. Like Brittany in private, still holding on to resentment. What was so hard about forgiveness for me was, it seems like everybody just moves on.
I slept with a man last night. Tell me why his friend texted him in the morning and was like, bro, you banged the TikTok girl. And let me just say this, if you're gonna call me the TikTok girl, at least put hot and sexy in front of it, okay?
I've been yelling in my car for 30 minutes because fucking parenting is hard. It's hard. Because they're little mirrors. If I want my son to be a better person or to grow up and just be a good fucking human, I have to be a good person. He mimics everything I do. He mirrors everything. So if I have a fucking bad attitude, he's gonna have a goddamn bad attitude. If I say fuck, of course he's gonna say fuck. I have to change me to change him.
So there is a secret pandemic going on right now. And it's been slowly increasing in severity over the past 5 years. And it's the pandemic of millennials and Gen Zers that don't have any friends, or more specifically, quality friends. But why and who is it affecting the most? And what does that have to do with this ongoing argument that we've been having on social media about women and men in terms of relationships and how we interact and treat each other? Before we start talking about that, we first have to understand where this argument came from in the first place, and how feminism wasn't really the cause, but really the catalyst that slung this movement or global conversation forward. In the early to mid 2000s, there were a series of atheist conventions held in the United States. And these aren't that uncommon, especially in terms of religious conventions where people collectively gather to talk about their own similar belief systems. However, the problem arose when people, namely men, started using these conventions as a way to pick up girls. And these conventions would slowly become a place where people talked less about atheism and more about hooking up. However, an incident that was later deemed as Elevator Gate was what actually sparked this conversation of women versus men when it came to relationships. So essentially what happened was, at one of these conventions in 2011, a man hopped on an elevator with a woman. And on this elevator ride back to their hotel rooms after one of the days of the convention, the man very straightforwardly asked the woman if she wanted to have sex with him. The woman was offended, naturally, abruptly told him no, and they parted their ways on the elevator. And that was quite literally it. He didn't touch her, he did not threaten her, and although he was very rude, he did not even argue with her after she declined him. However, after this incident, the woman would go to social media and other feminist groups alike, complaining that she had been sexually harassed. Now, although I agree with the fact that this was incredibly rude and not really a conversation you should be having with a complete stranger that you did not even ask their name for first, the way this story was spun by this woman as a result of the man casually asking her and her abruptly declining and then the situation essentially evaporating, it sparked such a huge conversation that the name of the conventions were changed from atheism to Atheist Plus. And this conversation got so big that eventually they stopped talking about atheism altogether, and it just became this back and forth between men and women. Well, at the same time that this argument was starting to become a little more mainstream, popular TV shows and movies like Sex and the City and No Strings Attached were also starting to become very commonplace in media. The idea of being a strong, independent woman that could sleep with anyone, anytime, anywhere, and as many times as they wanted to was starting to also become a very popular aesthetic of the American culture. And to be honest, both men and women were very ecstatic in the beginning. But that's only because most millennials were in their late teens and early 20s, and they weren't mature enough to even care about having a relationship. But that is essentially what sparked this transactional sex culture that we seem to be in now. But these two movements sparked a domino effect in our culture. Because on top of sparking the argument of man versus woman, it also sparked the argument of titles. More specifically, pronouns. But that will be for another video. What it did, though, to people's ability to make, keep, and have quality friends, especially for women, is manifesting itself on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. And it's in the form of women posting thousands upon thousands of videos complaining about men, talking about their lives, and spilling the tea of their personal lives, as well as the lives of other women. But the issue is they're telling us too much. They're telling us things that friends only tell other friends. But David, what does that have to do with people not being able to find or have friends? You see, there's one thing that you have to understand about women, and it is their need for validation. Women need to talk about their problems and have them validated even if they've already solved the issue in their head. Because it's not about solving the problem, it's about getting it off of their chest. And because women need to do this a lot more frequently than men need to do this, if they don't have a best friend or even a boyfriend, they need to find other avenues to be able to get it off their chest to another person. And it's not enough to just say it to yourself. They have to say it to someone that's actually listening to them, especially if it's a scenario that they haven't quite figured out how to solve yet. And the fact that going online and gossiping about your personal life has become somewhat of a cultural movement, it speaks to my theory that women are starting to find it a lot harder to make and have quality friends, or even friends at all. You see, these two cultural shifts became a double-edged sword when it came to how women and men interacted with each other. Because even though it brought up a much-needed conversation about inappropriate men doing inappropriate things, it also brought up the conversation of women doing very sneakily things in relationships and to men in general. And with those conversations came a deluge of examples and proof backing up their arguments. And it scared a lot of men and women out of wanting to be in relationships in the future. Your first degree of separation. Men versus women. The second level of separation, however, is within the genders. Men versus men and women versus women. But these separations aren't created equal. You see, men have always separated themselves based on how successful they are both in the sexual dating world and in the business world. The men that go get it versus the men that watch the men go get it. And this separation has always been based on morals and beliefs. But women don't create friendships based on morals and beliefs, because that's not how they create their loyalty system. Women make friends based on how much they think they can trust that other woman. And because the trust is placed in the person instead of the beliefs that that person holds, every decision that that person makes is either a plus up or a deduction on their loyalty scale. But because of the large percentage of bad decisions that millennials and Gen Zers are collectively seeming to make nowadays, it's starting to become harder and harder for women specifically to find friends, or at the very least, quality friends. And it's one of the biggest reasons why they've turned to social media, because they know their followers, both women and simping men, will agree with them with almost anything they say. And by simply posting a picture or a video talking about it or posting their body, they can get all the validation that's lacking in their life from their lack of friends and the absence of a meaningful relationship. But this has been going on so long that we've hit a point in this cultural movement that women no longer understand why men don't want them. They no longer understand why they can't find female friends. They don't understand that just because a guy wants to sleep with you, that doesn't mean he wants to be in a relationship with you. And it definitely doesn't mean that he thinks you're attractive. They don't realize it's because of all the bad decisions that they make and the fact that they're only really attractive online. And one of the only reasons why this isn't affecting men as much as it is affecting women is because men seem to be almost bonding over the idea that most women can't be trusted. They are bonding over their shared belief system. Women sleep with who they want, men sleep with who they can. But men marry who they want, and women marry if they can. If you want to hear more about this topic, make sure you go over to the Game Changers podcast that I host on Spotify and Apple Play. And if you enjoyed this video, like, subscribe, and stay woke.